Hey, what's up? What's up, Killa?
What's going on, Muck?
Man, it's Friday again, and we are back for another episode of Talking Black, man. Hey, week go by fast, man. You
Doesn't
know,
it?
yeah. But hey, we're
Time
here,
flies
man.
when you're having fun.
It flies when you're having fun. Hey, welcome to all the listeners, all our fans that have been joining with us, all those that are new today. Hey, we welcome you to join the conversation. This is Muck and Killa Talking Black Podcast. I am your man, Muck the Empath, along with my co-host and compadre, Killa the Conscious King.
How y'all doing? How y'all feeling out there?
It's all good, man. All good, man. So, hey, we want to welcome everybody in, join the conversation, no matter what platform you're on at the time. If you're on Facebook Live, if you're on YouTube, Roku, Twitch, it doesn't matter, man. We hope that we're glad that you're here, and we want to extend our invitation to join that conversation. Talking Black is the platform for Black people to talk to Black people about Black people and Black issues that we all face, and see if we can come to some solutions about how to deal with the plight of the Black man in America, Black woman, and all across the diaspora. So again, we welcome you. If you are not Black, we welcome you as well. If you're just someone that loves to study cultures, other cultures, and learn about things, hey, we're more than welcome to be here, and we thank you for joining us as well. And also, all you 007 agents out there that just on here looking to hate and trying to find something to pick at, join too, because everything we say on this show is truth. And if it's not the truth, it's just our opinion anyway. So we welcome you as well. Killa, I know you got a great show lined up for us tonight, man. But before we get into it, man, I want to first, hey, if you are here in other platforms, I do encourage you to go to Google Play Store or go to your App Store if you have an iPhone. Download the Media Room 360 TV app. You can catch all our content, all our old shows. You can also watch us live Friday nights at 9 to 10. Also, we got other great shows on the network. We got Miss Shawnee Scott herself, who is the proprietor of this whole thing, man. She put this thing down for the culture. Black-owned, woman-owned business here. She's a media giant around our parts. So, man, we thank Miss Shawnee for that. She's
Thanks,
in the
Shawnee.
morning. Yeah. She's on there with males on the MIC in the morning. They have a great show. You catch them every morning. Also, Big Bink's Break Room podcast with Brother Bink, Action Jackson, and Miss Shawnee herself, as well. Also, we got what we got, Recipe for Conversation with Antoinette. She's better than she's better than Martha Stewart. So check her out, man. Sister got soul on there, and also some other soul stirring shows here to uplift your spirit here, and then also you can catch us as well. Without further ado, my man Killa, man, take it away for him.
Well, yeah. Hey, man. How you been this week?
Man, I've been good, man. It's been I've been trying to change my diet a little bit, man. So I cut out a lot of sugar, man. So I'm struggling right now, but it's all good, man. Yeah.
Well, for all those out there viewing, you've tuned into the Muck and Killa latest edition of Talking Black, our podcast, where we discuss the elements of current events and share our stories, our trials, and what we turn into triumphs. Today, we have a conversation on the topic of economics.
Yes,
and this is the first area of people activity. And as Nearly Fuller shares, and every week we're going to share a different area of the 9 areas of people activity that Neely created in his book, United Independent Code System Concept. We urge you to go out there and get that. It's a good fundamental book about all the different activities that we take on as human beings in the areas of economics, which we're talking about tonight, education, entertainment, labor, law, religion, politics, which we did our first show on, and sex and war. And so, he's got these concepts around these 9 different areas. And tonight we're talking about economics. So go ahead.
No, so what are the 9 areas pertaining to? I mean, what is he trying to get people to understand and then codify around?
Well, yeah. So he basic concept is that he talks about just different areas, these 9 areas of activity.
Mm-hmm.
And in each of those areas, he says if you're dominated in one of those areas, you're dominated in all of those areas.
Okay.
But his definition for tonight's show for economics is basically the following pages present just basic suggestions that pertain to what a victim of racism, white supremacy should do or not do in the first major area of people activity. And this is economics. Okay. What he says is each person should choose to speak and act according to one or more suggestions presented, but only if he or she decides to do so.
Mm-hmm.
No person should speak, act according to any suggestion presented in his book unless he or she has judged that suggestion to produce justice. It's important for us to know and understand that one or more suggestions selected from any selected area of major area of activity. Now, if an individual person chooses to utilize any suggestion presented herein, he or she could do so in a manner at a specific time, a specific place that will produce the most constructive results in the revelation of truth and or production of justice and or correctness.
Okay. Let me ask you this. So when he speaks of producing justice, everything he's talking about is the end result is to produce justice, right? Give me what does that mean? What does justice look like?
Well, he defines justice as that nobody gets mistreated. Okay. A world where no one gets mistreated, and the people that need the most help get the most constructive help. Okay. That is the definition he puts in his book for justice. And what he also says is that the majority of people in the world believe in injustice. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're producing.
Okay.
So if we believed in justice, we would produce that where he defines that term and allows us to be universal man and universal woman, not racist man or racist woman, or epsilon male or epsilon female, which are subordinate to the alphas in these different groups and cultures.
Okay. All right. So the goal is to end white supremacy, racism, any kind of system that doesn't produce justice, correct?
Yeah, the fight against white supremacy is a fight for justice. Okay. Because white supremacy is seen as synonymous with injustice. Okay. Because all right. in that system, people are mistreated based on the color of their skin, and that's not right.
Okay, gotcha. All right, yeah, man, I'm all about producing justice, man, and I've been a victim of white supremacy and racism throughout my life, and I'm definitely down to finding some solutions for it. So we're talking about economics, right? And so this is an activity where we need to figure out how to produce some justice for ourselves, right?
Well, yeah. Well, first off, we gave Neely's definition, and then we also want to give a broader definition for economic, what an economic system is, and then we'll move to the next one. But basically, the CFI defines an economic systems as a means by which societies and or governments organize, distribute available resources, services, goods across a geographic region or country. Economic systems regulate the factors of production, including land, capital, labor, physical resources. And an economic system encompasses many institutions, agencies, and entities, and decision-making processes and patterns of consumption that comprise the economic structure of a given community.
Okay.
Right. So that's a pretty broad definition, but it kind of brings everything into what we're going to be discussing tonight.
Okay. So let me see if I can get it straight. All right. So an economic system basically is everything a society comes into what it produces and how it designs to give its resources to the citizens, right? So how it's
Distribute,
designed
yeah.
to how it's designed to distribute its resources. Okay, all right.
So and then it breaks down that there's 3 different types of systems. You got a command system, a market economic system, and a mixed system, which is a combination of the 2 I've mentioned before. So,
okay.
What's been your experience, Bays, Muck, with economics in your life? And when did you first become aware of the term when you actually could, use that information?
Well, when I first, you hear about economics in high school. You may take an economics class. So I heard the term before. I always associated with money, getting my money right, and that's pretty much how far it went for me. But actually, man, when I went to the NFL and
Right.
I got my first check and the taxes, I saw a whole bunch of letters on there and a whole bunch of deductions coming out of my check, where like half my money was gone, and I was like, wait a minute, what is all this about? So that's when I really started.
Who was fighting?
Yeah, who is fighting? What they talking about? You know what I'm saying? Why they got my money? You know what I'm saying? So that's really when I start. It was really about my money, and I was like, wait a minute. So you're telling me that they're taking taxes in order to make sure that the different people and different things are taken care of, right? So I'm looking around this and say, okay, y'all taking half of my check. And the people, my family members and friends that I see, it's a lot of people struggling, and I don't see them getting help. So
Right.
I'm like, wait a minute. So where is this money going? So that's when I really started digging into it a little more and start seeing, okay, especially from the government side of it. Growing up, growing up with my grandparents, everybody we know, they were Democrat. You did not vote for a Democrat, right? But when I started looking at my check, and then I started hearing Republicans and other people talking about we're gonna cut taxes. So I'm listening now. I'm like, wait a minute, let me hear what they talking about, because these Democrats seem to be taking all my money. That's my mindset at this time. So I'm like, let me start really listening at what the politicians are saying. I started watching a lot of CNBC, and just a lot of financial news, because I'm trying to figure out how this thing is going. And that's when I really started to understand about what was happening in society with governments, businesses, the population, everybody. So I started putting it together then. But it took me a long time to really grasp the concept, try to figure out where I fit into that.
Right. Yeah. And so, talk about how you felt though when they were taking the money, and you know what I mean? Where did that feeling come from?
So, when Debo rolled up on red and said, "What you got on my," that you feel like you getting jacked, man. Like
it was Bogart, huh?
yeah, like Bogart, like give me that. I need it up at you,
Right.
And you just, like I said, it was just like you're not understanding. I remember Chris Rock made a joke about this a long time ago. He was talking about, they say this is for the streets and to keep the streets light going and all that kind of stuff. And he was like, well, y'all, I can give y'all a candle and y'all give me my money back, because all of these things that society is taking our taxes for, I just didn't see them working enough in my community. I seen a little aid, I seen the government assistance, man, but it wasn't enough, man. People were really struggling. So I was like, I just felt like if I had all of my resources, I could better help my people and the people that I know firsthand better. But that wasn't how the system worked.
No, yeah, a lot of times it's the civic sector that's responsible for, taking care of people in different programs that the communities is backs.
Yeah.
And then you got the private system, and then you got the public system, which is your government and agencies, and then you got your private, which are just regular companies, and then that civic again is the people. So it's our job to organize and make up for what's missing. In our local economy, if you will. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you're saying that's what the people are responsible for doing that, right? So I started listening at it was certain terms that that I started hearing a lot when I listen at these shows and I'd watch government shows or a new government news or some of these financial, I started hearing the term capitalism and socialism, communism, all these different kinds of systems. They say these are economic systems, and obviously we live in a capitalistic society. But when somebody says somebody's a socialist in this country, it's like you almost call them the devil. But I really didn't know what that term meant. So as I was doing a lot of my research about that, I started really digging into the terms. Okay, what is capitalism? What is socialism? What are these kind of things? And what I came to understanding is that as a system, just think about all the things you talk about as a system, how we're getting our resources to the people, right?
Right.
That's how do you get people what they need? So basically, capitalism is a philosophy where private individuals can own those means of production. When I say means of production, they own the land, they can own or purchase the material to build things. They got the factories, they own all of this. Now all they need is some labor, somebody to come in and work. So they create jobs to come in for you. They'll pay you a wage so that you can produce the stuff. So at the end of the day, they can sell it for a profit, and then all the profit goes back to the capitalist. That's why we get the capitalist system. The person that had control of the capital, they're the ones that reap the rewards for the efforts.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So what's socialism? Why is socialism such a bad word then? I mean, what is, and it's just a different system. It's just another way of thinking about it where the government or the state owns everything. Individuals can't own land and things like that. It's all done by the government. So that way the government can give the people and distribute all the stuff to the people, and it not be in the hands of a single individual. And when I started looking at that, I said, why is everybody so up in arms about these terms? Why are we denigrating somebody that's a capitalist if we live in a socialistic society, and vice versa? Why are we so on these people because they have socialist viewpoints? So, and I just started looking at all different systems. And when I really got to looking at it, I didn't see much difference from socialism and capitalism myself. To me, it's just two sides of the same quarter. It's like heads or tails, but it's still a 25-cent quarter. Because at the end of the day, whether it's the capitalist that's in control or the government in control, either way, you're not in control of your own economic destiny in those systems, unless you are a capitalist, or unless you in the socialist system, unless you're part of the government. So you don't get to make any say about where your money's going or where your labor is going. And that's the key thing for the people, because we're all talking about jobs. We need to create jobs. We need more jobs. I need a job, right? Well, who's creating these jobs? The capitalists are creating it in our system.
The people that have capital, right? Yeah.
The people that got the capital. So what we're finding, especially with this system, is that those people that have control of the capital usually don't look like us. They usually have a different tone, and it would make sense to me. And if I'm building things for my legacy. I want my kids to have things, put things in place for my kids and my family, so they're taken care of. And that's pretty much what capitalists doing themselves, right? They're looking out for their people first, and then whatever comes later. That's what it is.
I hate to use this analogy, but it's just like playing ball, right? I mean, if the Patriots had the best strategy and they score a touchdown, that's what they're supposed to do, right?
Yeah, you can't get mad at them from scoring on you if that's part of the game. And
that's the unfortunate part about the economy is that somebody's going to end up on the bottom.
Yeah.
Right. Because somebody's going to be last.
Yeah.
Right. To get the resources.
Yeah.
And what it looks like, to me, is that you have a certain class of people who are first in line, and their mentality is to be first in line because that's how the world has catered to a certain demographic, a certain, to certain people. Yeah, and those people don't look like you and I for the on the mass scale, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you have other people who are in line behind them and so on and so forth. And what it seems to me is from a socioeconomic standpoint is that African Americans are just on the bottom of that socioeconomic, totem pole, right?
Yeah.
And nobody talks about that. Why is that?
You know what? I think we are talking about it, but I don't think people really grasp what's happening. You know what I'm saying? I don't think these terms that we're throwing around, capitalism, socialism. When I took a class at TCU, and it was an accounting class, and this is really the first time I'm hearing balance sheet, cash flow statement, these types of terms. So I'm watching these TV shows, and they're saying this. The financial news is saying all these terms. I really don't grasp them, so I'm really not comprehending everything that's going in until I'm really starting to study it and really starting to look at it. And I only did that when I figured out my pockets was low. That's when I really started looking at, okay,
you were motivated.
I had some motivation because I was like, I felt robbed. But I got a great, I always use this analogy about capitalism. Think about this. Say we got Muck Killa home builders, right? We build homes for the people, right? So we hire some people to help build the houses. We got the materials, we got the factory. I mean, we own the land, we can lay the foundation. We just need some laborers, right? Now, even with that, we can only say we can build 500 homes a year. I'm just throwing out a general number, right?
Right.
Everybody needs a house. Everybody needs some type of shelter, right?
Yeah.
Right. So now you have 500 houses, but you have millions of people that need houses. How do you decide who gets the house? I mean, the first one is off the rack. How do you decide that? And what I was noticing is you have to discriminate in a sense. You have to say, okay, well,
everybody can't have a house.
Because everybody can't have it because it's only 500 right now.
Right. Not of those houses anyway.
Not of those houses. So it comes down to, okay, how do I decide as the owner who gets the first house? And that's so I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna look out for my folks, and then I'm gonna say, well, who got the most money? Who's willing to pay me the most for this property? All right.
So
that's where you get the market.
In my hearing, you said something earlier about you said it real fast, and so I think people might have missed it. You're talking about comprehending the terminology. And then you kind of put in there that there's a little deception in the terminology. Is that right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
So give me an example of, like you said, balance sheet. People don't know what a balance sheet is or what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
How can they comprehend in a conversation they're throwing that out 3 or 4 times, right?
Yeah. Man, like I said, it's part of lack of education. From people not telling you that. That's some things that we should have been taught very early on in, like, I'm gonna say at least high school. Now I think it should have been mandatory. I didn't have to take economics. I didn't take economics. I think I had an economics class 1 year in college that I probably went 2-3 times. How I was doing. But but I think these things need to be really expressed. So you have the way that they run businesses. And you mentioned in the definition of economic system, there's some decision-making processes that have to happen in order to make sure these systems work. And they use these instruments like balance sheets and cash flow statements to determine the health of a business, and how the money is really flowing through to make sure everything is solid. Well, if you don't understand that, which, like I said, I didn't understand it. And I started a few businesses at the time, and I still didn't understand it when I started businesses. Bear in mind, I went to school. I went to school with the intentions of being a business major, which
we all.
Yeah. You know what that means? That means I ain't trying to work for nobody. That's all that means. And I ain't really learned anything about business because I never got into the business school at the time. But I went there saying, hey, I'm going to play football and I never want to work for anybody. I own my own business. But I didn't have the foundation or business acumen to start a business. And I lost several $1,000s starting businesses because I didn't understand those simple statements and simple terminologies that we're talking about today.
Right. Well, I got a quote I wanted to share from one of my favorite economic lead mentors, Claude Anderson.
Oh, Dr. Anderson.
He said he's very unabashedly straightforward, right?
Yeah.
So he said racism is wealth and power based is a wealth and power based competitive relationship between blacks and non-blacks. And the sole purpose of racism is to support and ensure that the white majority and its ethnic groups continue to dominate and use blacks as a means to produce wealth and power. True racism exists only when one group holds a disproportionate share of the wealth and power over another group, then uses those resources to oppress and marginalize and exploit and exclude and subordinate the weaker group. What do you guys say about that, Muck?
I mean, hey, Dr. Claude is right on. He don't pull any punches, and that's the truth. If we look across every economic category, anything that's positive, net worth, bank account statement, all those things, businesses owned, assets acquired, like we're at the bottom of that, and every important category that's positive. Now, if you look at all the negative categories,
Right.
debt, low wages, lack of entrepreneurship, then we're at the we're at the top of those negative lists, but we're at the bottom of the positive list. And I just, that's got to be by design. That's what I'm looking at. I just know too many people that have talent and understanding, but for a group as talented as we are as African Americans and Black people, for us to be on the bottom of this totem pole for as long as we've been has to be systematic. Has to be systematic to me.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I understand what you're saying. What I try to tie it into is reality around, the prison industrial complex and how, there's a disproportionate number of people that are doing crimes that are getting more time than others. That's racism. Yeah. And that's oppression. And as a young Black man growing up, I didn't think I could get in trouble because I thought I was going to go to jail, and that creates a whole different mindset. And I grew up in Richardson, Texas. I didn't have to think that way, but it just was. I was looking around and seeing that stuff happen. Yeah. And also unemployment. The unemployment number for African Americans is different than our other counterparts. Yeah. And why is that? When obviously, if you look at the different races in their employment numbers, there's a big number, collective number, and then there's an individual, and I think the number for African American males employment is like 5 times that of the our counterparts. So those things to me. If you're saying racism doesn't exist or these things aren't, they're not there. To me, those are glaring facts that we got to talk about. Yeah. If you don't believe that there's a difference.
Say also one thing that I think we talk about a lot, especially Black people, we talk about the racist element of it too. But and a lot of times we disregard the class aspect of it. There's a class element to it too. People with more money, rich people, have advantages that other people don't. Like,
is it because they're better?
It's not because they're better. It's because they have the means to get the resources that everybody is looking for. You know what I'm saying? So, if you're a black billionaire, which we got a few, you're in a better position than a poor white person from trailer park. I mean that you know what I'm saying, it's not completely about race. It's all mixed in with class and race, and that's why people that do believe in racism and practice racism, they can sidestep that thing by using class. Well, what about Beyonce, or what about Jay-Z? What about Oprah? They sidestep the marginalization of a lot of poor black people with the one or two great examples that they come up with. And in this system, especially, it's a very competitive, very cutthroat type system, because like you say, you have a limited amount of resources that you're trying to get to a whole bunch of people. So people drive up the prices. So people that are naturally competitive or naturally have that grit, you can actually come up in this country regardless of color. If you just cutthroat enough, or just
you have to be cutthroat mindset. Well, what if you just cunning? What if you just know how to seek opportunity without hurting other people?
Yeah. I think it's hard. Honestly, bro, I think it's hard within this system. Like I said, there's going to be some type of discrimination regardless of what it is, because when you got a small number of people, capitalists represent probably less than 10% of the population, and these people are charged with creating jobs for everybody in the society. So if you're not an entrepreneur, then you're waiting around for somebody to create a job for you, right? It's like you're asking 10% of the people to supply for 90% of the populace. That in itself ain't gonna work. Or 1%. So I've been saying this for years, bro. And we see what this. I remember back in the 60s, they had the movement. I need a job. I'm a man. We need jobs, and we've been on that push for years. I don't care which political party is in office. That's the mantra of everybody we need jobs. We need jobs, bro. Ain't jobs not coming back. They're not coming back.
You're right. That's a mentality. And I thought what we don't talk about is the mentality of the people who have been enslaved for 250, 300 years.
Yeah.
And they get used to being subservient.
Yeah.
They get used to taking the leftovers after everybody's picked through it, right? Yeah. I mean, and that becomes a way of life. And then you say to the person sitting next to you, "What's wrong with you? You don't want to eat chitlins?"
Yeah.
I mean, and so we got to talk about that mindset and how it affects how we see our own economic, life.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I was talking to somebody that a peer of mine in business, and I told him, I said, I feel like I can win just like the next guy, right? Yeah. Because somebody's gonna win. It might as well be me.
Yeah.
Right. And he looked at me. He was like, "Wow, I don't hear that often."
Yeah.
And I think he was saying from black folks, but I didn't go there.
Yeah.
But my point is that why not us? Why, what I'm saying? Why is it so hard for us to realize that we can win too if you have the right mindset? If you understand these terms and can use them interchangeably to comprehend and get through the deception. That's if you don't know what the words mean, that's how you can be deceived. But I want to say meet us this Sunday at Top Golf at Park Avenue in Dallas. Come check us out from 12 to 3. We want to also highlight, download the app Media 360. You can also get us on the on Roku, Facebook Live, as well as YouTube.
Yeah.
And then check out the other content on Media 360. Shawnee Scott and Mel's on the mic in the morning. Recipe for Conversation with Antoine and Antoinette. Big Beats Break Room Podcast. Let's Get It Radio. And a host of other shows like Muck, me and Muck Talking Black. So
Come check us out. Hey, on Sunday, it's Super Bowl Sunday, so there's the event at Top Golf is being hosted by Action Jackson. He is one of our teammates here at Media Room 360. Is benefiting the A's life cycle. So come check that out too. Support your brother. Yes, for a good cause, definitely.
Now, did you hear about Master P and Byron Davis pitching for Reebok?
Yeah, I did.
They said, obviously Reebok's owned by Adidas, and they began to assess their strategic alternatives for Reebok, right? Because they basically announced a decision that they're going to determine whether or not they're going to let Reebok go in 2021. Yeah. So this is their new strategy. But Adidas acquired Reebok in 2006.
Okay.
And if it all works out, it'll turn Reebok into the first Black-owned major sneaker brand. Okay.
Yeah. So I heard Master P talking about it briefly on somebody sent me. I think it might have been you. Sent me a instant message with Master P talking about it. And what I got out of what he was talking about is, he was trying to explain how he was able to do that. This would be the first, right? A minority Black-owned major shoe brand. And he was trying to tell us, hey, I can tell y'all how to do this. And he's hoping to be able to teach more African Americans how he was able to do it. Talking about the terms, talking about the financial statement, talking about the debt, and how to acquire those. So Master P is on it heavy, trying to get us to wake up and to see what's going on. So if you get an opportunity, man, I think it was on where'd you get that at? That clip?
Forbes did a deal. Black Enterprise did a story. The Griot did a story. They did mention that back in 2003, Jay-Z signed with Reebok. Remember when he released that S. Carter shoe?
Yeah.
Well, that led to a 17% increase in footwear sales that year, according to Forbes. So, there's a lot of information out there, and they're looking to sell this company for like $2.4 billion. And just imagine how that will help, communities all around the United States.
So let me go here because
would you buy you some Reeboks?
Would I buy Reeboks?
Yeah,
I would buy Reebok. But let me go here though, because I'm personally, I am not a capitalist. That's my personal philosophy is not one of capitalists, because I don't believe just the simple structure. It's always going to be top heavy. It's always going to create some mega rich person, and then the people at the bottom, the workers and laborers, are going to be struggling. Because it's all about profit. It's all profit driven. And the only way that you can make a profit in any transaction is that you get something back more in return than you give out. Right. That's the only way. That's the only way to make a profit. You got to give something. You got to get more value in exchange for something of lesser value. So who would, in their right mind, give you something more than you give them back? You know what I'm saying? Unless you have to be deceptive. You have to be cunning. You have to be misleading, or you have to be a hell of a marketer to make somebody devalue their goods and services so that you can make a profit. So if we're in this same profit mode, I personally don't see how it ever works. I just think you trade one master for the other, regardless of what color they are.
We talked about this before, but I'm gonna talk to you about values, and that's where it all starts. Yeah. So if you don't value the things you have, I could come in and offer you bottom dollar for that shirt that you don't value, and that shirt might be worth a couple $1 million, but you don't know that because you don't understand the value of that shirt in the broader market. Yeah. And I think that's what happens a lot to people that are, economically, challenged, right? Yeah. because of these economic challenges, that leads to a value system that's not in alignment. And I think because of our vast history in global history, in world history, like we just didn't start with slavery. Yeah. So there's certain parts of who we are as a people that, make us very, you can put us through a dehumanization situation like slavery, but we don't ever rise up and go to war with the people that put us in slavery. Like we're still living among those people that have oppressed us, and we're trying to make nice. And that's not. I don't think that's a problem. But I think we're trying to be nice without understanding who we are first. And so Malcolm X always talked about, we have to be mindful of the image of ourselves for ourselves. Before we try to manage that in the grand scheme of things, we got to understand who we are, and then make sure we have strong character, strong integrity in our communities, in our, so we can own our economies. I mean, I know we're going to talk about solutions here in a second. Yeah. What do you have on your mind when it came to solutions, Muck?
So, to me, it's all about it is about value. It's about knowing your value. But as it concerns the economic system, Black people don't have their own economic system. We're a part of the American economic system, which obviously puts us at the lowest value. It puts us at a disadvantage just by the sheer structure of how it is, because 400 years of your labor being used for free. Now think about it. When we talked about economic systems, part of that system was labor. Yeah. Our forefathers labored for years for free. So they had nothing to pass down. So when they set us free, the capitalists had all the capital. All we had was what? You see what I'm saying? So now we had skills, we had understanding. We knew how to run. We knew how to run everything on the plantation. We knew how to grow the crops. We knew how to repair the machinery. We knew everything, but we didn't have any capital. In a capitalistic structure, that's not going to work. So what we have to do is create the institutions. Like let's go back to the definition of economic systems real quick.
You want me to go over that again?
Yeah, go over it real quick for me, because it's some terms in there that we gotta hear.
Well, yeah. So and again, this is the Muck Killa podcast. We're talking Black this evening. I'm about to define economics system, and it's a means by which societies or governments organize and distribute available resources, services, and goods across the geographic region or country. Economic systems regulate the factors of production, including land, capital, labor, physical resources. An economic system encompasses many institutions, agencies, entities, and decision-making processes and patterns of consumption that comprise the economic structure of a given community.
All right. So the key word in there that struck me was institutions. They say all of these things are being distributed through different types of institutions. So Black people in this country don't own or control any institution outside of our religious institutions, which is why the church has always been considered the fundamental institution for our community. Yeah, and exactly right. Because let's talk about the main institutions that societies have and systems have. You got financial institutions, banks, credit and loan, things like that. You got government systems. You got educational system, how you teach and train and prepare the people to enter the economic system. Yeah. Then you have the healthcare system, medical. People got to be healthy. People need to stay alive in order to get back and forth to work. Then you got, like I said, your religious institutions and other political institutions, right? So we don't control, we don't own any banks to speak of. We don't own any, we don't have our own governmental system, and government sets values. The government sets the value of the people.
Right.
We don't control our own politics within our community, which is a major problem. And then our education system. We touched on that last week when we talked about education. Hey, if they're not educating us to actually enter the system the right way, then that cuts us off right there. Now we eliminate the racist issue where they don't qualify. There's not enough Black people out there to fill these positions. Well, nobody, that's where they get you right there, because we don't control our own education systems. So they're being educating us to, either get in line with a low wage job or get in line to get that prison sentence, one of the two. And then, like I said, we do have churches, and churches can do a lot, and they have done a lot, but they're not, we need more institutions, and then we don't have any hospitals. We talk about COVID, we talk about all the ailments that affect the Black people. We have the lowest life expectancy rate in the country. Like, why would we live less? Like, in a society that's supposed to be equal, why aren't everybody living the same length of time? You know what I'm saying? So we ain't asking these questions.
Yeah, no, I mean those are good points you're making, and we always we understand some of the challenges, but I'm gonna do something different real quick. I'm gonna give examples of what it looks like when you own these institutions in your community. You get loans. Yeah. For the people that are looking for loans, they're getting loans. They're educating our kids to be prepared for the world, not just the block. Yeah. We're better. We have better relationships with law enforcement. Again, this is what it looks like when we have ownership over the financial, education, government, religious, political, healthcare institutions in our neighborhoods, in our communities. Yeah. It's better policies in all those areas. Yeah. It's, you become a priority in getting your needs met in the community versus what we have experienced being disenfranchised in the political space, not having, having all these issues like we were talking about earlier in the prison industrial complex and unemployment and all these other areas where we're definitely seen as last in terms of distribution of resources. You know what I'm saying? So my question to you though, Muck, is what's at risk if we don't make adjustments as a group, body politic?
What's at risk?
Yeah,
man, our kids are at risk. Our future as a people is at risk. I mean, genocide is a real deal. You know what I'm saying? People, think about this. I often think about America was the land of Native Americans. Native Americans were all over they from every inch of this country, roaming. Not only that, South America. When's the last time you seen a group of Native Americans just out and about? You know what I'm saying? That is rare, especially exhibiting that culture. If you don't go to a reservation or see some type of a festival, for the most part, they pretty much wiped out Native Americans as well as us. Look at our numbers. Look at we're killing each other. Our kids are killing each other in the streets with gun violence. You know what I'm saying? We're dying at an earlier rate. Our birth rates are lower than any other ethnic group right now. You see what I'm saying? Our abortion rates are higher than any other ethnic group right now.
That goes back to the topic for tonight's discussion. You know, these economic challenges that are produced by not getting people resources it's going to always make us seem as if we're asking for a handout when we can't have it both ways. So at some point we're going to have to take it upon ourselves to create our own jobs and support our businesses. The reason why I support Black business isn't because of Black folk, I support because of the economic empowerment.
Yeah.
And if I'm not supporting them, I know they're going to go out of business.
Yeah.
Because they're looking for my support.
Yeah.
So these are just the dynamics of why we have these other numbers that support a lack of involvement in the economic system.
Yeah. So, when somebody said something that was critical to me, I sent you, I saw Umar Johnson, Dr. Umar Johnson. He was in London doing an interview with a lady, and they asked him about white supremacy, and they was asking the whole system. He said something that really resonated with me. He said, a lot of people, Black people, don't really care about white supremacy. Right. They're not white supremacy is not a problem to a lot of Black people. The problem they have is their position in the system. Right. As soon as they come up and get money and feel like they got their economic situation taken care of, they're good. Yeah. They're good. The revolution is no longer necessary in their minds, and that's a problem. But like I'm saying, and I shared this with you. So I've been doing a lot of researching, especially about the 60s and the Black Power movement. This was the era where we made probably our greatest strides as a people with overcoming this oppression and getting to a point of equality. We have some of our greatest leaders during that time: Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., Stokely Carmichael, a lot of people, right?
Right.
So in 1967, a group of businessmen in Detroit. And Detroit was like the mecca at that time of Black entrepreneurship. And black life in general. It was like it was ground zero. 67, they created an inner city coalition. It was like a foundation. It was a nonprofit organization where the goal was to create resources and fund and grow businesses, Black-owned businesses, particularly in light manufacturing and heavy manufacturing, which was the major industries in the country at the time.
Right.
They had funded about 100 different Black-owned businesses with a cap rate of $5 million, with the goal to go to $1 billion in assets under control, all Black-owned. So
what happened to that?
That's the point. What happened to that? That's not the first time. I know on Big Bink's break room, they were talking about Black Wall Street. They did all of that in Tulsa in 1920. They had their own economy. They had airplanes, man. They had the white people come in the shop with them. You know what I'm saying? And obviously we know what happened with the massacre and the white folks getting jealous about that and coming and destroy that. But my question was this: how did they even create that nucleus in that environment? We can't even seem to get nothing started here in what's supposed to be a better time, right? This is supposed to be a better racial climate. We've never come close to what they did in Tulsa yet.
Well, it depends on who you ask, right? A better time for whom, and who's doing the measuring, right? I mean, if I'm doing the measuring and you asking me how things are, I'm gonna tell you how they are for me. Yeah, but I don't know how they are for you unless you speak on that, right? And so we got to realize, who's doing the talking, and does that mean I'm included? I've heard oftentimes that in the Constitution it still lists us as 3/5 of a human, and stuff like that. Is like, is that really real? It's almost like it's cartoon, right? Yeah. Like, do people really think they're better than other people? Like, there's only one species, and we're all connected to that one woman that had the first child 4 million years ago or something like that, right? Yeah. So, it's really uncanny to me how we can have these differences amongst people, and it's the relationship between people that's bad. And I obviously look at white supremacy as a disease, as a profound. Toni Morrison said it was a profound neurosis. Yeah. Something that we got to get over as people. We got to advance. We can, the people that want to keep things the same, that don't want to give up the stuff that they have to realize that there's people in this world who have done things to allow them to have those things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And those people went without.
Yeah.
In terms of material wealth.
Yeah.
We got to find some parity here for when it comes to that. And it's a tough conversation. It's going to take very mature people to have that conversation. I don't know if we got that kind of leadership or the type of mindset that can look at the facts and assess and say, hey, this guy got $5, this guy needs to get $5. But then, you're getting a whole political debate and argument and lose track of, people.
That's what I'm saying. That is not the mindset of America. America is a capitalistic, individualistic society. It's, hey, my individual rights. We're not a communal type of society. Whereas like China, for the most part, is a community-based, society.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm just throwing it out there. But yeah, that's not the mindset. So when you start educating your populace, we're educating our people to be individuals. And that's just what it is. But as Black people, we got to understand that we can't. Where's your value system? And I'll tell you mine. My value system has always been with family first, then my community, then everybody else. Because here's the deal. You can't create a community unless you have a group of families that's working together.
Right.
So that's all a community is a group of families that decide to work together for the greater good of every family in that community. Now, here's the deal. In order to get a family, you got to have two individuals. You got to have an individual man, an individual woman that say, hey, let's come together and create a family. So it does start with individuals and then it ends with the community. But I really think we don't focus enough on the family, especially the Black family. And that's what they try to destroy. That's how they destroy it. That's what they do. They destroy the Black family. So now you have no base.
Can't come together.
Now you can't even get to a community.
You can't get to the community togetherness because you don't have family togetherness.
You don't have family together.
As a single guy, I often have challenges finding women who understand how important family is.
Yeah. Because
when the going gets tough, you got to stay with your family. And you got, everybody's got different agendas and values, and you can't be mad at somebody for their own values. But I realize that it's just tougher these days in the dating world because of that. I'm gonna leave you with another quote, and we're gonna wrap up, man. It's been a great show.
It's been a good one, man. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, Vernon Jordan has a quote that I thought was I'm not a big Vernon Jordan fan, but he says, "You are where you are today because you stand on somebody's shoulders. And wherever you are and wherever you're heading, you cannot get there by yourself. If you stand on the shoulders of others, you have the responsibility to live your life so that others may stand on your shoulders. It's the quid pro quo of life. We exist temporarily through what we take, but we live forever through what we give." And I thought that was a very good quote.
That's powerful. That is powerful, man. Hey, like you said, man, we're in this together. This is why we're doing Talking Black. We're trying to come up with solutions to help us elevate, help us grow as a people. Like I say, genocide is real. This is happening. I mentioned the Native Americans, but genocide is happening in other places around the world. So there can be an attack, and there can be people wiped away if they're not taking proactive stances on their own survival. And like I said, that's what this show is about, man. We're talking to Black people about Black people and the issues that we're facing and trying to come up with solutions.
Don't forget to download the Media 360 app and catch us on Facebook Live, Roku, YouTube. Check out Shani Scott and Mel's on the MIC in the morning. Recipe for Conversation with Antoinette. Big Binks Break Room. Learning with Teacher Lou. Talking Black with Muck Killa. Basil. Appreciate your time today, man. And it is Super Bowl Sunday, so meet us out this Sunday at Top Golf.
Park Ave.
Park Avenue in Dallas.
Yeah, if you're in Dallas and you don't have Super Bowl plans, come out and join us. It's for a great cause. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And we out. See you next time. Stay blessed.
Appreciate y'all.